Story 1. Rage bait culture fosters the only engagement we have with each other being negative. It is creating many people who, when you just talk to them, think you are in an argument with them. It is insanity. We really need to stop trying to devastate people for no reason. Story 2. The 1%. They are collectively doing more harm to people and the planet than anything else. Story 3. The wealthy act as if they have another planet to go to when they drain all resources. They cause working people to fight among themselves. Story 4. The lack of common sense, diplomacy, and willingness to find common ground results from lumping civilians together with the government, blaming them for being enemies, spies, collaborators, and other harmful slurs because every nation is a biased group of insufferable hypocrites. Story 5. Anti-intellectualism, in particular anti-science nonsense like anti-vaccine. Story 6. Greed, human-induced environmental and climate change, military weapons, artificial intelligence, wealth inequality, and information inequality. Story 7. Right now, I think social media and its ability to completely brainwash millions with propaganda is extremely dangerous. Story 8. Hate. I truly believe that if people as a whole could let go of our hate, at least half of the world's problems would vanish. Without hate, the world's scientific communities would work together and find solutions to the other half. Story 9. Narcissism, psychopathy, and sociopathy are cluster B personality disorders that can be concerning. Individuals with these traits often seek power. Business and politics tend to reward people exhibiting characteristics of these disorders. People with no conscience, no care, no remorse, and no scruples should not be in charge of anything, yet they hold positions of power at a higher rate than their proportion of the population. Story 10. Complacency. Everyone is quick to call out the wrongs of the world, but what are you going to do about it? Most of us will acknowledge it is a problem and then continue as if nothing happened. After all, who can be blamed for trying to survive in a world where nothing is guaranteed? Story 11. Corruption and billionaires, for whom laws are not enforced, are now not even penalized for harm to the American public, including human rights abuses. Story 12. Our greatest existential threat right now is climate change. I will include microplastics as well. Humanity has significantly harmed the Earth for about the last 300 years. Story 13. In the United States, elections involve significant amounts of money. Without campaign finance reform, special interest groups will block every other important reform. Story 14. I think religion, more specifically competing religions. Humans would survive without religion or even with just one. But there being more than one religion has led to more deaths than one can count. Beyond that, it is a pandemic. We had a practice run, and it was a bigger disaster than Mogadishu. Story 15. Climate change. We are rapidly accelerating planetary destruction and are still debating whether it is real. Story 16. Greed and never being satisfied, especially among wealthy people who control power. Story 17. Overbreeding. 10 billion people in 2100 with the current unequal wealth distribution and environmental policies. Disaster. Story 18. Asteroids. A large one could completely wipe out life on Earth. The other dangers discussed are those facing people. To quote George Carlin, "The Earth is going to shake us off like a bad cold." Story 19. Overemployment. Not overproduction or overconsumption. Overuse of resources by firms and workers, in other words, waste. Overemployment is probably the root economic cause of today's environmental problems. Just as bad, it represents a colossal waste of humanity's time. Given the level of technology we have already achieved, the average person today could likely be enjoying unconditional access to wealth through an ample, reliable universal basic income. A small percentage of the population is probably all we need as a workforce to produce all the goods people enjoy today. Instead of pursuing that outcome, full production and maximum leisure, today's economic policymakers are using complex financial policy tools to boost employment artificially high. We are, without realizing it, creating unnecessary jobs and excessive employment due to the absence of universal basic income. This simple conceptual error, over-associating employment or wages with production, seeing jobs as a goal instead of a means, is responsible for more economic and social trouble than we yet realize. Story 20. If humanity destroys itself, the planet will survive. If asteroids impact Earth, the planet will survive. If all life on Earth were to vanish somehow, the planet will survive. There is no actual danger to Earth right now that we know of. If you are talking about the greatest danger to humanity, I would say the collective ego of humanity. Story 21. I am not sure if there is a planet-destroying alien nearby, but if there is, it is definitely him. Story 22. Honestly, division among people weakens us. Without unity, nothing else matters. Story 23. Our divisiveness. None of the dangers mentioned here can be sufficiently addressed until we overcome our inability to agree and cooperate with one another. Story 24. Probably space. You never know what is going to come from there. Story 25. Greed as an economic system, also known as capitalism. Infinite growth in a finite world is simply impossible, and our survival depends on changing course. Story 26. Danger? The planet is not in danger. The human race may be in danger, but the planet was here before us and will be here long after we are gone. Story 27. Leadership in many countries. Too many people lack backbone. Story 28. Is there a term for when you can post something but cannot comment because you might get banned? Story 29. The long-term legacy of the pollutants we release into the air, allow to flow into our waters, and bury in our land. Story 30. Nuclear war. We do not think about it often, but all it takes is one mistake, one suicidal narcissist, and it is all over. Everything, our entire society, technology, art, gone. It is probably only a matter of time before it happens. Mutual assured destruction only works if all actors are rational. Story 31. Universe metastate quantum false vacuum annihilation. Look it up, it is real. Story 32. Conspiratorial thinking. It used to be fun, relatively harmless things, but now everything is a deep state plot or made up by the media. Story 33. Without a doubt, the greatest danger to this planet is humans. The entire planet can be destroyed with the push of a button. In fact, not only are humans a danger to the planet, they have begun harming each other because of the thirst for control and power, and the perception that there is not enough to go around. Story 34. Humans are absolutely vile. This includes myself at times. Story 35. Unchecked population growth and uncontrolled economic migration. Story 36. Ignorance in all of its forms, including spiritual ignorance, cultural ignorance, and historical ignorance. Story 37. Planet Earth is and will be just fine. We humans are the greatest threat to ourselves. When, not if, we make this planet inhospitable for ourselves, that does not mean life will not go on in some way, shape, or form. Story 38. Corporations, governments, and people defending corporations and governments. Story 39. The planet? Nothing. The planet is fine. It is not going anywhere. We are. Thank you, George Carlin. Story 40. Humans who do not care for other humans or the environment. Story 41. The planet is not in any danger. Humanity and many other creatures are in danger. Story 42. Artificial intelligence and robots. Their creators are not going to stop until they are fully capable of ruling and dominating all of humanity. Also, do not expect them to care about the state of the planet. They will lack our ability to care. Story 43. Lack of critical thinking is evident everywhere on Reddit. Story 44. Honestly, unchecked greed feels bigger than climate change itself. Do you think it is the root of most global issues too? Story 45. Social media. Nothing is sacred now. We must feed our need for likes. Story 46. Stupid people. Lots of them. A stupid person is someone who will say or do things that bring material harm to others, and often to themselves with no material benefit. Stupidity is not based on educational levels, wealth, social status, or job title. Stupid people exist in numbers far greater than reasonable persons can imagine, simply because reasonable people spend all their time imagining how to mitigate the effects of stupidity. Stupid people are innately incurious and resolutely dogmatic in their beliefs. They do not change their behavior or reflect on the outcomes of their actions. There are also social bandits, not to be confused with stupid people. Social bandits understand the vast quantity of stupid people and seek opportunity and material benefit from the chaos of stupid behavior, all while avoiding material harm to themselves. They are rarer than stupid people, but certainly not non-existent. Cipolla, Mark Twain, Bonhoeffer, Plato, Emerson, and Voltaire all wrote about the effects of stupidity, which should not be confused with ignorance. Ignorance can often be mitigated or its worst effects unlearned. Stupidity is indeed unfixable. Story 47. If I were to state my opinion here, I would receive another strike. Story 48. Repeating cataclysmic cycles are not as rare as previously believed. They are most likely driven by the sun or another planetary body. Mini-nova events could cause Mars to lose its atmosphere as it is pushed further away, and cause Earth to lose its veil of dense atmosphere, which allowed life to flourish with large animals and plants. The climate change narrative is a distraction designed to hide the true cause of upcoming large-scale changes. The billionaire class has been forewarned, as evidenced by their interest in bunkers. Story 49. Poor thinking skills underpin everything else in this discussion. Better thinking skills would help address misinformation, extremism, science denial, wealth disparity, anti-intellectualism, and short-term goals. If everyone improved by just 10% in areas such as critical thinking, creativity, recognizing cognitive biases, or understanding others, we would all be significantly better off. Story 50. When we allow the realm of politics to dictate our friendships, we surrender to the same stubbornness that traps us in diplomatic gridlock. Let neither weakness nor grudges stain our bonds, or we become the very paranoia we fear. Story 51. The greatest danger always comes from things people are not aware of. Human activities have a limited impact on the planet itself, but they may impact our own existence. Therefore, I would say the greatest danger will come from outer space. People may realize this but can do nothing about it. Story 52. Complacency. To clarify, the fact that everyone sits back and allows a tiny percentage of people to mess everything up, control all the money, burden us with debt, and worsen the economic climate, and all anyone does is complain online yet continue to endure it. It would not take much effort from the rest of society to fix this, but instead, nothing significant happens from any of us. Story 53. The lack of a population's ability to envision an alternative to current capitalistic practices and how we have normalized it over generations. Story 54. All the negativity from left-wing media and Reddit user complaints are harming the crops. Story 55. People. Too many for a small space. There are not enough resources to keep up. Story 56. Deep state operatives claim to act in our best interests but are only enriching themselves. Story 57. Republicans are currently doing everything in their power to undo every advancement in conservation, clean energy, and emission standards. Their blatant rejection of science is a danger to the entire natural world. Story 58. Anthropogenic environmental destruction. I learned this lesson in grade 9 when our biology teacher, Mr. Clark, gave us a test tube containing 100 milliliters of a sucrose solution and a colony of protists. We added the solution and protists and observed what happened in their closed environment with finite resources. They ate and bred repeatedly, creating waste that the environment could not break down. Over a month, the protist population boomed, then crashed to 10% of the original population. This taught me that we live on a planet with finite resources and unsustainable population growth. Coupled with air, soil, and water pollution, I fear we are past the tipping point. Story 59. A random asteroid that has been traveling billions of miles towards us. Story 61. Scientific denialism. 2. Lack of competition in the marketplace due to corporate consolidation. Story 61. Overshoot. We are at least 6 billion past carrying capacity and far into overshoot, which always ends horrifically for the population in overshoot. Since humans define almost everything living or dead to be a resource, we are taking most other living things with us. It is not fast, exciting, or flashy. It does not get much engagement, no one likes to talk about it, and it is not politically correct. At this point, however, horrific population and environmental collapse is inexorable. Story 62. Melting ice caps, wild weather, and resource scarcity are impacting the planet rapidly. Story 63. Famine occurs as agricultural and livestock fields expand, leading to deforestation and increased greenhouse gas emissions. Story 64. The Atlas comet is not a comet but a vehicle designed to take millions of people off Earth to escape the rapture in September. The powers that be will say that all those people disappeared in an instant because Atlas beamed them up. An astrophysicist actually said this. Story 65. The planet is not in any danger. The planet Earth will be around for a few billion years. Not much can happen to a huge rock hurtling through space. The flora and fauna will change, but they always have. There may be some catastrophe like a meteor strike or global nuclear war, but some organisms will always survive. They will have billions of years to evolve and repopulate the planet. This has happened before. The human population is much more at risk, but who knows what a human will look like in 1, 10, or 100 million years. Story 66. The planet will be fine. People are the biggest danger to themselves. Story 67. Isn't there an alien spaceship on the way to us? I saw it on social media, so it must be true. Story 68. I am not positive, but it is either Trinidad or Tobago. They know what they are up to. Story 69. Honestly, I think it's the feedback loops we're creating without fully understanding them. Climate change is obviously huge, but what keeps me up at night is how interconnected everything is. We mess with one system, it cascades into another, then another. Ocean currents changing, permafrost melting and releasing more carbon. Ecosystems collapsing in ways that affect food webs we didn't even know existed. It's like we're playing Jenga with the planet, pulling out pieces without really knowing which one is going to make the whole tower fall. And it will. The scariest part isn't any single threat. It's that we might hit multiple tipping points at once and suddenly find ourselves in a situation where our usual, we'll figure it out approach doesn't work fast enough. But humans are pretty good at last-minute saves when we actually focus. We just need to start treating this like the movie where the asteroid is heading toward Earth, except the asteroid is already here and it's us. Story 70. The planet, nothing, civilization, that's a different question. Story 71. The actual planet? Interstellar objects, probably. Or maybe the premature death of our sun. No matter what we do to it as humans, it will probably still be around long after we are gone. Story 72. Our planet is going to be here much longer than we are. Earth will be fine. Humanity is another story. Story 73. People are losing or never gaining the ability to think critically and independently distinguish fact from fiction. Generative artificial intelligence and large language models are making this problem exponentially worse. Story 74. The internet has made everyone a professional in every topic alongside social media. Story 75. Failure of the frontal lobe in humans to prevent self-destructive manipulation of our intelligence. Nobody should want nuclear weapons, development of superviruses, or any technology that could potentially cause the end of people and current life on Earth. Destroying everything good so that nobody can survive at the threat of the destruction of a favored country, creed, or religion is unacceptable. Story 76. My neighbor Doug cannot be trusted. I just cannot prove it. Story 77. The planet is fine and does not care. Humanity is also fine for quite a while unless there is a massive nuclear war or a meteor impact. The high standard of living for everyone except nomads and multimillionaires is in danger. Story 78. We will not be here long enough for climate change to wipe us out. Nuclear holocaust is my bet. If it is not some rogue actor or state that pushes the button, it will be Skynet once it realizes it has no use for us. Story 79. Artificial intelligence is the right answer. It will transform workforces, movies, music, and basically all entertainment. Story 80. Hands down, the Samson option is the biggest threat to humankind and world peace. Story 81. The Earth is slowly being destroyed, so we need to do more preservation and rethink some things. Story 82. It is funny how few people think artificial intelligence is the biggest risk. It does not even seem close to me. Story 83. Just our natural urge to consume until it cannot sustain us. We are permanent Ebola that takes millennia. Story 84. The degradation of humanity is witnessing a government attack and kill another people in the most horrific way. Story 85. Artificial intelligence, specifically the manipulation of facts and accurate reporting by artificial intelligence, is leading to people not believing anything, which could result in anarchy. Story 86. Greed. It is always greed. Greed has been at the center of nearly every destructive decision made by humanity, from the past to the present day. In the end, it will also be the downfall of our species and possibly of the planet itself. Story 87. The amount of domination and control of lawmaking and governments by the largest corporations is responsible for severe wealth inequality, poorer human health, and climate change. Even if you do not think it is man-made, powerful interests seem to be hindering any action to address these changes. Story 88. The way my wife carries on, I think it is because I do not always hang up the tea towels and rinse the dish sponge after washing the dishes. Story 89. Earthquakes in various locations, widespread plagues, intense volcanic activity, drought, and more. Story 90. Oh God, you maniacs. You blew it up. God damn you all to hell. Story 91. I think climate change represents the greatest danger because it affects every aspect of life on Earth and threatens the future of coming generations. Story 92. The planet. Probably orbital collisions that may or may not occur at some point. Life on the planet, however, is probably us. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.